Hello and welcome to Steven University. This week we watched an episode which is title I've already forgotten. Open Book. It was called Open Book, Chris. that was quite an aggressive start to the show.
Because we haven't done the usual. Ever since I accidentally watched the wrong episode that one time before we record, Dan's usually like, so we're discussing Open Book, and then he just sort of pauses and waits for either me to go, yeah, or, oh shit.
Yeah, because the big thing about that one was that you were potentially spoiled because I did my usual straight into the intro thing back then.
Yeah.
And I was concerned you'd had a spoiler, but we got around that. It was fine.
Yeah, we moved on.
We worked it out. But ever since then, I have done a paranoid before we start. Now it is, and it's one of those things where it's like 9 times out of 10, I sound like I'm being a dick, but like it's just one of those things that I've got to do. Where I'm just like, you did watch the right episode, right?
Yeah, or we agree that next time if it happens again, when you start, oh no, it doesn't matter anymore because I explain. So
yeah. So Chris,
good.
Open Book. What was it about?
Fuck knows. No. Open Book is a coke-fueled fantasy romp in which Stephen finishes the book, the witch's book that Connie loves.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen and Connie decide that they don't like the ending. He's like, I wish I could make a new ending. Boom, gem room opens. In they pop. He starts asking for things like for a fish to high-five him. It's the first thing you'd ask for. Don't deny it. Then he sums up a dressing room. Connie goes in there. He's like, I just want to see you. Out she pops. He sees her. From that point on, she's agreeing with everything he says or asking him what he wants to do. And we start going, this is all a bit nonsensical and rubbish. And then we go, there's something up with Connie. And then we go, oh, it's not Connie. And then we go, oh, it's a villain Connie. Because he's like chasing after him and shit. And there's knights and carts. And then he finds the real Connie. And fake Connie makes him tell her the truth. And you're like, well, is it going to be that he loves her? What's this truth? The truth is he did like the ending. And they agree that that's cool. And she's like, of course you like the ending. You're Stephen. Some sweet little stuff. Don't worry about evil Connie. She's just gone. Seemingly she was there to teach him a lesson or something like that. And then they go back into the regular old world, still in their costumes and stuff. And the episode ends.
Arguably better and smarter people than when they began.
Arguably. Yeah. And then it zooms in on a picture of the peeps in the book holding hands, and they look a bit like Connie and Stephen, and it's sweet. And then credits.
And then credits. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to just get straight out of the way and say I really like this episode because I think it's quite sweet because it shows that Stephen is so determined to impress Connie, to win Connie over, that he's willing to lie, which is out of his character. You know, he's not been much of a liar as the show has gone on. He's proven himself to be quite an honest character as a rule. So the fact that he would be that willing to lie just to sort of impress Connie is quite interesting, and then the way it plays out is quite clever. I really liked that for a minute, like you thought, you know, when she's going to tell her the truth, you're going, oh crap, is this it? Is this the moment that becomes a thing? And when it turns out it's just the book, I think that's all very clever, quite a good subterfuge, and I think it's a nice little lesson. You know, don't pretend to like something because your friends do, or don't like something because your friends don't. Just be you, and sometimes that's all you need for me. So, Chris, I'm sure everyone's itching to know. What do you think?
Oh, it was all right. I thought it got. I mean, as we've discussed on here before, as we've discussed numerous times on Fringe Observers, I like stuff to, like, even when there's monsters and weird stuff, I like it to have a point. And there was a danger. Hear me out. I think there was a danger towards the meandering middle of this episode, where he's producing drumsticks and feeding them to big creatures, that you're a bit like, what the hef? What the hef? That's me trying to censor out swearing. But then when, like, evil Connie or, like, fake Connie is revealed to be fake Connie, things heat up a bit, and then there's some nice stuff and a nice lesson at the end. I wasn't gripped all the way through, and I think there's certainly been stronger episodes recently, but I thought it was a nice, fine episode. I agree with you, and I like the Stephen Connie and stuff. This isn't at all their best episode, in my opinion, that I've seen, but still a nice one for them. At first, meh, but by the end, meh.
So does that put it in a similar bracket then to something like an episode that we actually just released recently, which is, I think, Monster Buddies, which I don't know if you remember. That's the one where he gets Centipede back and they go around and he's eating chips and fighting pigeons and he's trying to train Centipede. Yeah, that one. And in the end, like, it gets a bit out of control and he sort of, like, he hugs it even though its acid is burning him. And you really like the ending. You thought the ending was very powerful, but you thought the rest of the episode wasn't great. So you sort of found yourself going, like, it's good, but, like, mostly for that ending. Therefore, I don't know how well I rate the whole episode when you put it as a full 11-minute piece.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, and I think that's fine as well. There are episodes of my favourite shows that are like that. I don't think that's an ish. But an ish, Jesus, sounds like a right prick.
I know. I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't know what to do with that.
You know what someone said today? They were like, "Oh, I've got bare reports to do," and they meant like a lot of reports. Yeah. But bare means like naked. It means like
not for a long time, Chris.
But that's ridiculous. And I know this podcast isn't about me ranting about British slang.
In Britain, the youth slang for bear is like, "Oh, I've got bear reports, mate." It means I've got tons of them, loads of them. But surely the context and the tone and the inflection gave you the hint. You weren't confused, surely.
Yeah, no, I was, because they put it was in an email. They wrote, "I've got bare reports to do. Can we move that meeting up till now?" And I was like, "What?" All right.
Oh, wow.
Why? Because you've got no reports to do. Although that would work, anyway. But yeah, weird. I've
got naked reports to do.
It's just odd. Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, it's really. I struggle. It's one of them where you kind of go, I struggle to see how we're gonna. I struggle with more to say on it than some really nice Stephen Connie stuff. I thought it meandered a little bit in the middle, and I'm sorry, they chuck chicken. They chuck like turkey drumsticks into a big monster. You can't. If that happened in the middle of 24, I'd be like meandering. Tick took. Jack just pauses. He's just throwing cooked meat at someone.
I like the idea that he's like interrogating a terrorist, and it's just like, "Where's the bomb? Where's the bomb?" And the guy won't give it, and he goes out the room and he's sweating, and they're like, "Jack, you got to lay off the guy. You're gonna kill him." And Jack's like, "I don't care. We need to know where the bomb is. People are gonna die." And then he's like, "Anyone want to eat chicken? I've got turkey legs. Handing out some turkey legs."
It would be meandering in 24, and it's meandering here. And I think the other thing is, because other episodes have meandered, but I don't think it's overly entertaining meandering either. Like, I quite enjoyed...
I think that's the problem. I think the criticism isn't that meandering exists. The criticism is that the meandering in this particular example doesn't add anything really to where it goes. It's not like that ending is dependent on the build-up.
No.
If you skipped a chunk in the middle of that episode, you would have roughly the same effect, I feel.
Yes.
Some people might disagree, and I totally get that. You might feel it's really important that we spend a lot of time with this whole setting up this whole Connie, not real Connie thing. But to me, the payoff is actually just the reveal that he didn't like that he did like the ending. You don't necessarily need to spend as much time on the fake Connie to do that.
I did like the fake Connie reveal. That did genuinely make me like, ooh. I really liked the gag where he's coming up with reasons for them to be going over them, and he's like, we can't drive a car. I thought that was very funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, good meandering, but not great.
Not as entertaining as it could have been, nor as important to the overall plot. Yeah, I don't agree with that, because I think, like I said, I think the ending works without it. I will say things in terms of things I did like. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the idea that they've just kept up this whole idea that he's still banned from television, so he's become a huge book guy now. I just love this running joke. because obviously he got banned from television for 1,000 years in fusion cuisine, and ever since then they've done so many great subtle references to it. So they've done an episode where they were like, where he was saying like, "Oh, I read a lot now because I'm not allowed TV," and then there was the episode where Amethyst and Greg were watching Little Butler and he couldn't get involved, you know. And I think that's good. That's really good little continuity. And the fact that he seems more interested in his own punishment than anyone around him. No one else. Yeah, everyone else has forgotten.
I do agree with you. I will say, in case any pedantic listeners are yelling at their headphones, they have obviously set up this book series and how important it is to Connie before. So it's not like this book series was new, but you're absolutely right. You do kind of feel that it's both his TV punishment and his affection for Connie that kept him reading it at first.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, especially in that first episode. You know, the one where she introduced him to the books. He seemed a bit baffled by the whole thing then. But there's been multiple references to it. Because I remember On the Run as well, he wanted to run away like what they called the No Home Boys. So again, ever since the fusion cuisine, lots of references to Stephen Reading, which I think is lovely, because I think that's not as well like a good example for kids. Like, he's taking his punishment on the chin and he's doing it because he knows he did wrong when him and Connie ran away. But equally, like, I love that he's getting into it and getting into reading and being enthusiastic about reading, because I think, again, for even younger kids who might not be doing a lot of that, that's nice too.
If they're doing that, though, presumably either his punishment overtly gets taken away, or they keep doing it, or eventually they just phase it out. So, is one of those options a thing?
There are three. Yeah, there are three ways. They'd either phase it out in a way that you wouldn't notice because it's over a long period of time. They would either have a very specific scene where they suddenly go, "You're no longer punished," or they do the opposite, which is like one day it's just dropped instantly. But I'm not going to tell you which, obviously. But those are the three options.
Did you notice them continuing and running with it first time round?
Yes, but not as much. I'm like the On the Run one. I think I missed the first time round. Maybe like some of the references that I picked up this time weren't ones that I got the first time. But I did notice it, but not as frequently. Now I'm sort of more looking out for it. This is an interesting episode, though, because if I'm not mistaken, let me just double-check my math to make sure I've got this right. This episode is one of the first that aired out of order. Let me just check what the situation... We've watched it in the correct intended order. Yeah. So, basically, what happened was, towards the end of the first season, Cartoon Network wanted to do something big with the show, and the plan was for this first Steven Bomb. Now, I don't know if I've explained the concept of Steven Bombs on this podcast before. I think I might have done, Chris. Have I done that?
Yeah, no, I think you have.
Yeah, so it's basically a week worth of brand new episodes of Steven Universe, usually from the Monday to Friday. The Steven Bombs are usually 5 episodes long, with the exception of one of them. And it's, Monday, Tuesday, right through, 1 episode a day, brand new. Occasionally, they've done a thing where they've not done Friday and they've done 2 episodes on the Thursday, but roughly that's the premise of a Steven Bomb. Now, the very first one, they wanted it to build up to the final, it seems. And what they did was they cut a couple of the slightly more fillery, and I say fillery in the sense of the ones less essential to the finale episodes out, and stuck them in the early stages of season 2. But it really, really, in my opinion, affects the flow of early season 2, because there's such divertory episodes they really don't feel in place there, whereas you can get away with it more before the season 1 finale. So we are watching them with them back in place. So this was one of them. This is one of those episodes that they deemed not relevant to the finale and moved it into season 2 in its original airing.
It's a pretty big moment, though, him opening the door for the first time. Like,
second time he's done that. Rose's room.
Second time, but still, him going in there was still like, oh, cool.
Yeah, but they had that whole episode, didn't they, where he went in there and didn't realise he could not come out.
Yeah. Oh no. Now you said that, I do remember. I didn't remember until you. I couldn't remember. I didn't know for sure that he hadn't done it, but I couldn't remember until you said he couldn't get out. Yeah.
Yeah, because he goes in, then wants to get out, and it presents him with a door. He gets out, and he's in the real world, chugging about. But then it turns out that he just wanted to get out, so the room provided the a door that led to a fictional version of his world. I don't know if you quite remember that or not, but it's
quite a sneaky room, really.
What's that, sorry?
It's quite a sneaky room. It's quite,
Yeah, it's done it. Did it with Connie this week. Did it with the whole of reality last week. Not last week. That week. That was Rose's room. Do you remember? Because it is Rose's room of all the rooms in the temple. From each of them, and that's if you remember rightly, there was some disappointment because the episode was called Rose's room, and all we really got was him going and messing about in the room and with the sort of. The weird magic of the room rather than anything to do with Rose. There have been other episodes that have dealt better with her as a character, so we were a bit disappointed.
Yeah, I remember that now. Now you said.
Cool. See? There you go. But so this is one of a few that were moved about. It's really frustrating because people keep saying we should do the Stephen bombs as they aired. Like, so when we get to the Stephen bomb, we should put 5 episodes up in a row, Monday through Friday. And that's a lovely idea. And we may, even if we get far enough ahead, think about doing that in the future. We're not going to do it for the first bomb because I'd like to do the episodes in the correct order. And to do the first bomb, we need to put them out of order.
Yeah, plus there's an element of, like, there's the practical editing point of view, but also because I think some of the questions that have come in for the first Q&A, they talked about, like, will you do Mirror Gem, Ocean Gem together? We're watching an episode and then dissecting it is how you'd watch it. Like the Stephen bombs, they aired one a night, but they aired a night, so they'd finish on Monday night and you'd talk about it on Monday night. So that's what we'd do, but I suppose that's different to...
But I think, I think what they're suggesting is us doing it across the week, so doing one episode discussion a day. So on Monday we discuss the episode that aired on the Monday of the original Stephen bomb. On the Tuesday we discuss the episode that aired on the Tuesday. Do it that way, because they're all 5 episodes long except for one of them. So we would be able to release Monday to Friday an episode a day. That's what people have been asking for, and I'll put it out there now that we will consider it depending on how far ahead we are when we get to Stephen Bomb 2. But we definitely won't do it for Stephen Bomb 1 because of it would mean to do it as it aired. We'd be having to go back to the aired order of the show rather than my preferential order, which is to watch them as they were actually written. Because early season 2 has some really good stuff in it, and it. Because it's not a spoiler to Chris for me to say that in the finale of this season some shit goes down. That's not
what. Actually, I think you'll find, Dan, that was my big prediction.
So. Oh, was it? There you go. So in the finale season, guess what? Shit goes down. But what the ramifications of that are felt then through the subsequent episodes. A bit like how after Mirror Gem, Ocean Gem, we immediately dealt with them fixing Greg's car and his broken leg. Do you know what I mean? Like that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Putting the episodes they removed from here in the early part of season 2. It really it just messes up the way they very nicely come out of that finale. And that really bothered me because I watched them in air order originally, and then was deeply annoyed when I found out that I'd got it wrong. So we're doing them in the proper order, which means next week we're doing Shirt Club. So sorry for those of you who are hoping we'd be getting, because I suppose doing it the other way means we get to the finale quicker. I know a lot of you guys are excited to hear us talk about the finale, so sorry.
Yeah, no, but we will consider it for Bomb 2.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, it'll depend on how far ahead we are, because if we're not that far ahead, then I'm not doing it. No offense, guys, but it's just...
but that's for...
A consistent schedule is more important.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's for the good of the cause. That's to keep us on track for 2 weeks.
Absolutely. So. Because if we go mental and drop 5 at once and then can't keep up and then we start missing episodes down the line, then everyone's going to be all pissy. And I don't mean that in a negative... I don't mean pissy like you're going to be whining, but like that's going to upset people, and we don't want that either.
No. Oh. So there you go.
No. And my laptop troubles are nearly sorted, so woohoo.
Wait. But so this is the one podcast we've managed to avoid that affecting.
What's that, sorry?
Well, this is the one podcast that we've managed to keep up with the... we kept up with the FO, didn't we?
Well, with the exception of from the point of us recording this, there's a Fringe Observers that's supposed to be going up tonight that is not currently edited because I've yet to do it. I was hoping my laptop would come in time. It's not going to, so I'm now going to have to try and edit it on my girlfriend's laptop. If not, we might have to have a gap on FO as well of a week.
But you haven't had that on this podcast, so count yourself lucky.
Yeah, it immediately affected Nothing But Static, because that's our most hand-to-mouth sort of podcast, because it's about TV news. We record it close to its release. Fringe Observers is then the second one. Like we're only over a couple of weeks ahead on that, and then there's this, which we've just gone mental with. We've just tried to get as far ahead as possible so we can keep up with that ridiculous schedule. Because, for example, Chris is going away next week, which is fine, like no problem at all for any of the other podcasts. But if we were doing this hand to mouth, we'd be fucked. Like if we were doing this when we were recording the week before, we'd be in a lot of trouble. So yeah,
definitely.
There you go.
So there you go. So that's a little behind the scenes, and.
Yeah. Thanks for listening,
Yeah,
as always, and we'll speak to you next week as we discuss... Wait, it's going to be Shirt Club. So yeah, thanks very much for listening. I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham.
And we'll speak to you next week as we chat about Shirt Club.